The Kinky Cocktail Hour is brought to you by Motorbunny, the world's most powerful saddle-style vibrator that offers fabulous, creative sexual experiences. We use it and it rotates, it vibrates, and it delivers mind-blowing orgasms. Enjoy Motorbunny as your favorite sex toy. When you order the Motorbunny, multiple attachments are included along with the Link controller, which allows wireless control from anywhere. Motorbunny is the world's most powerful saddle-style vibrator on Earth. Use the link in the show notes and spice up your sex life with a Motorbunny. You're listening to Kinky Cocktail Hour, a conversation between adults about sex-forward relationships, kinky lifestyles, and frank communication. If you're under 18, please stop listening and visit scarletteen.com. I'm Lady Petra. My pronouns are she, her, and hers.
I'm SafferMaster. My pronouns are him, his, and he.
And this is Kinky Cocktail Hour.
Cheers!
Cheers!
So what are we drinking today?
Well, we're drinking one of our favorite drinks. I think it was from our listener suggested by Fried Pickles.
Yeah.
And it's the Hobnail, and we love it.
It's a great drink.
Yeah, so that's what we're having today. And it has a blended scotch, Amaro Mele, ginger liqueur, bitters, shaken, poured over fresh ice. Candied ginger is always nice. You and I both did not realize how much we like candied ginger, especially this kind. Mm-hmm. And it's just really good.
I love this drink. It's just such a well-balanced drink.
Oh, see, that's good. And see, that Amaro Mele is so fragrant and yum.
So the drink we had yesterday,
The Vocaré?
yeah,
Yeah.
had similar ingredients.
Yes.
So that's maybe
But
why.
no Amaro Mele.
No Amaro Mele. And
Yeah.
it wasn't a whiskey in it.
It had rye.
Rye.
Yeah.
And cognac.
And cognac. So it actually had some few different alcohols, but it's kind of in this lane of these drinks that are just really great tasting.
No, I love it. It's good. Very good. Well, today we had kind of a lazy day.
Kind of a homebody day, but kind of nice. I got to blog a lot, and it was fun.
We started the morning waking up at our usual crack of dawn time and
Yeah.
fooled around in bed a little bit, then had a morning nap.
Oh, that and those are glorious. I mean, and of course, after a long day when you go to sleep and you crash and hit the pillow, I mean, it always feels good to go to sleep.
Yeah.
But not like that.
Right.
It's always that second sleep like that, post-sex or
I
something.
feel like a hobbit.
Yeah,
I have second breakfast, I have second sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so it's always nice. And then we just kind of worked on pod stuff and
Tried to watch soccer.
I know. Fucking NBC.
Yeah.
Oh well. So we're going to talk about anal sex
Yes.
today. And there's a lot to talk about it.
Lots.
First of all, we love it.
Yes, we love it.
Now, I think a good place to start is that when we met, you didn't love it. But it wasn't...
I mean, I had done it, but I didn't love it. I endured it.
Yeah.
And it was because, when you're not into your partner, I think to do something like that, at least for me, you have to be into your partner. And really, truly, I think you're a very considerate lover in the sense of making sure it's right, if there's enough lube and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And my past experience, it wasn't like that. It was just ramrod,
Right.
figure it out as you go kind of thing.
Right. So, there's... Like, I have a history with anal sex as well. I'm trying to think when I first had it. I think I had a girlfriend in college who was into anal sex.
Right.
And that's where I sort of got turned on to it. Mm-hmm. And I got turned on to it because she rimmed me for the first time.
Oh, okay.
I had a girlfriend before that who liked to finger my ass, but I didn't like it when I was 20.
Oh, well, yeah.
I was thinking...
There's a lot of thoughts.
I was having thoughts like, I'm not gay.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't want anal sex.
And you hadn't discovered your prostate and things like
anything around anal
yeah,
sex
yeah. I mean,
for men.
that just was, especially at that time, it just wasn't really talked about. It wasn't shared. It was, you were one or the other, This is an exit only, is the old adage,
Yeah, and then I had a girlfriend who kind of liked it. It was maybe when I was 23.
Yeah.
And so she introduced me to the pleasures of anal sex from her point of view. Both in rimming me,
Right.
and then also in being ass fucked.
Okay,
which she liked.
Yeah. Right.
And so I sort of got used to the idea then. And it was there that I learned about, a couple things, different positions, lube,
Primary.
things that make a difference to make it go well.
Yes.
So what we know about the anus is that there's thousands of nerve endings
Yes.
there that give rise to pleasure just around the ass.
Right.
And, so playing with the ass is, with lube, because the ass doesn't lubricate.
No.
So playing with the ass with lube stimulates those
Regions
sense
in there.
organs.
Yep.
And it's very pleasurable. And, I've always wanted and found cause to find a way into my lover's ass.
Oh,
Always.
yes. Oh, yeah.
And I remember I told you at the outset of our relationship that you're definitely going to be an asshole.
I didn't really know what that meant at the time.
No.
But I am.
Yeah, I mean, we have anal sex like practically every day now.
Yeah.
So there's a whole different level of interest in anal sex.
Oh, yeah. And you can obviously tell, now better than you did when you were 20. You can see why people have anal sex because of men, particularly, them themselves have anal sex because of the prostate being there.
Right.
It's a huge sensory organ. And then, of course, that allows a reach around to stimulate the cock or have the other person or yourself stimulate the cock while you're being fucked. So there's a multiple thing. And you know how it is to have me suck your cock while I'm fingering your prostate.
Right.
It's mind-blowing. So you can see it makes sense.
Right.
For women, I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak for myself. The way my G-spot is positioned, it kind of curves backward. So it's near, so like you stick your fingers up the opening, you can kind of feel that spongy area, maybe the folds of it, but it's not right in line with the canal. So depending on the cock or depending on what's happening, it may or may not get stimulated. Where I get is the use of my muscles to contract it while the cock's in there that helps. But with anal sex, for some reason for me, it's right there because it's the backside of my G-spot. Because, you know this, the distance between my two holes, my vagina and my ass, is very close.
Yes.
And that's not always so because everyone's built different.
Right, exactly.
And a lot of people are in different positions. And so a lot of times people, you and my past partner, when they try to fuck me in the ass, they'll tilt my hips in a way thinking they're getting to the right position. And it's really, I have to drop my hips.
Right.
A lot of times because it's much closer to my vaginal cavity. So what is great for me is because they are so close, my G-spot is extremely close to the inside of my ass.
Right.
So when you fuck my ass, you hit the backside of my, like you're hitting it the whole time.
Right.
Whereas vaginally, it doesn't always hit. Now, what benefit for you if I'm in doggy position-ish, on my knees,
right,
because your cock has a nice curve,
yes,
you hit it as you come in and out, especially if you do full strokes and you tease me, and
no,
it's just fantastic.
I hit your G-spot on both sides.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, you experience vaginal orgasms.
Yes, I do.
And you experience anal orgasms.
And it's because of how you're built and how we play and
how you're built.
And how I'm built.
Right.
Truly.
Right.
And the trust of your partner allows you to relax into it where it just immediately is sensual.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, our experience with anal sex has been nothing short of remarkable.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot because when it was infrequent, well, not infrequent, it was infrequent. Yes, I'll say it's infrequent. With my ex, he just kind of just did it. Like he didn't ask me, like he asked he could do it, but he didn't ask me in the sense of limits or anything like that. There were no conversations about that, and I had never done it. I don't even know if he had really ever done it, right? But, part of play that way, unless you're into feces, is cleaning, right?
Correct.
So sometimes, well, in the beginning phases, I didn't understand. Had never used enemas. I didn't have a reason to before that point. And I did get one, an actual reusable kind of bulb one, which are pieces of shit anyway. That's what my feeling is. But never felt secure. Like, I felt reassured like I was clean. I just never felt that way. And I was not into scat or anything like that. And that would have been a turnoff for me.
Right.
Like, immediately. And it was all the time.
Right.
So, anyway, we went down that road, and I complained about that kind of thing, whatever. So then fast forward to where we're at. You described that. You kind of just mentioned, just go get an enema at the store, and I didn't even think about it, but I went and did that. And I know this is juvenile for people that haven't, but that's part of the play thing, is that I worked in a women's health center, and I recognize I'm pretty fastidious about stuff like that. Occasionally my biology betrays me, and I can't help that. But pretty fastidious about cleanliness, like that kind of stuff. But after working in a women's center with lots of women who had to undress and do exams, I recognize that the average person maybe just doesn't know how to take care of themselves, how to clean themselves. And so that's why I'm even talking about it. And so, like, I found just the regular Fleet enemas. First time it's a saline, so that's supposed to help you evacuate. But that's really not the key, because you're not going to sit there for an hour and a half. I'm not into enemas per se, so I'm not going to just sit there with the fullness. You're trying to clean. You can do multiple flushings by just filling up with tap water and flush again. And then when you get to you think you're done, you can do 2 bottles full and then flush until the water's coming clean. Mm-hmm. Then you've got a period of hours before the bowels are going to move. Plus, when you're having sex, your bowels aren't moving at that point because you're using the bottom part of your organs. And so everything kind of stops. It puts on hold. And so you have this great buffer. And so you clean yourself, then you clean the area. And then I always preemptively make sure I put in some lube in my ass, because I've now just cleaned it completely. There is no lubrication at all in there. And I put some in just with my fingers to, like, get the opening ready for that sensation, right? And to make sure there's something there.
Got it.
And it makes it way more enjoyable, because I don't sit there and fret and think, oh, shoot, am I dirty? Am I blah, 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 whatever. Making stories up, which would take away from the experience. And when I did that, even when I didn't even know, like, you were my first one that I learned all this on, it really let me be present for the way to relax, the way to experience anal sex fully, to not have stories made up about it. And so it just made the experience fuller for me. And I know that that's, may seem rudimentary for some people, but I think people think, oh, I did it once. I douched once, or I enemaed once, and I'm clean. But that's not really how it works.
No, and when you play with sounding, you're going to potentially have urine in the game.
Yeah.
If you play with ass, you're going to potentially have feces in the game.
Right.
And so what you're talking about is minimizing that by taking care to do some things before you play.
As part of your preparation.
As part of your preparation.
Yeah. Yeah, because you'll be able to play longer. The other thing I was worried about is when you're being impacted. Impact play is involved with ass play.
Yes.
There's a natural reaction to bear down.
Right.
And things like that, because you're dealing with the pain and you're dealing with what you're doing, which creates biology changes.
Sure.
And so I found by doing what I do, and it takes me 15 to 20 minutes maybe of back and forth, I will pretty much feel very confident that I'm clean. Occasionally I'm not, but that's life. But for me, scat is not sterile, and urine is usually pretty clean.
Cleaner. Yeah.
Cleaner if it comes out. So it's not, but scat isn't.
Right.
And so that's where my worry comes into.
Right. Well, there are bacteria that live in the rectum.
Yeah.
Called E. coli. And, that's just the nature of our biology.
Totally.
And so one of the challenges you have if you do that repetitive cleaning is you reduce your normal flora.
The good bacteria.
The good stuff. So you have to alter your diet.
Yep.
to support that. So how do you do that?
We play every day.
Yeah.
And I'm doing that every day.
Right.
And so I just got more conscious to my digestion and then my exercise and my energy. Really my energy, because they say when your bowels are out of sorts, your energy is weird.
Right.
And so I started adding probiotic yogurt.
Right.
And like a flaxseed granola in my morning breakfast, so that I would have probiotics to reinfest the intestines, basically, with good bacteria. And then I'd also, the other thing is, though, because I am doing it daily, I want to feed that bacteria so it wants to grow faster. So you can take a chewable probiotic. Let's see.
Yeah, probiotic.
Prebiotic. It's a feeder of the bacteria. They look like Tums, and you can take those. So I take those once a day, and I eat my yogurt just to keep the day. And I do notice, since I've been doing that, my bowels feel healthier. Like I feel healthier.
And you have more energy.
Oh, totally more energy. Yeah.
And so, we're talking about being responsible in your play.
Yeah.
And you're talking about being responsible for presenting yourself as a 3-hole slut to get ass fucked as part of whatever we do.
Yes.
And there's no guarantee we're going to do that. But you prepare anyway.
Yes, exactly.
Just because if it's on the table, you want it to be fun and healthy and
it gives a confidence to you and allows you to explore more of your play.
Yes.
Because there's play that you may want to introduce that we haven't done traditionally, but you want to try it because I am prepared.
Right.
And that can be an option. And because you kind of dictate our play, that allows you more options, basically. And it does for me, too, obviously.
Yeah. And, my happiness as a dom who has an ass whore living in his house is like extreme. I have extreme happiness.
So do I.
Because I love fucking your ass. I mean, I really do.
Well, and we connect in a way energetically. Again, we don't have words. We've been talking about this for months now, that we just don't have words for it. But it is a union where at some point we don't know where I begin and where you end, kind of thing. Right. We become
an energetic creature.
A creature, It's very primal, animalistic, and we feel like this one thing.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, now, sometimes we fuck, and we get through pussy fucking and ass fucking and pussy eating.
Yes.
And then I climb up on the chair, and I put my cock down your throat, and then you work on my ass.
Yeah.
Now, what I've done to prepare is always clean my ass before we play, because I don't know if we're going to be playing with my ass or not.
Right.
So I always, take a washcloth and make sure I'm clean.
Yep.
And, there's no expectations. And
no.
If I get up there and you're fingering my ass, I'm not thinking about, am I dirty?
Right. Because you need to focus on what you're experiencing. That's the whole point behind it. When something's being serviced to you, like you're being serviced, that's the whole point. That's how the enjoyment happens.
Yeah. And there's something really profoundly interesting as a man about having oral sex and anal sex at the same time.
Yes.
It's really profoundly, there's so much stimulation.
Yeah, it's hard. Where do I put my energy?
Yeah, and I found that when you got your finger on my prostate, it's kind of like a button, like a ejaculation button.
It is almost an
It's like you feel it, and then you press the button, and boom, I ejaculate.
Yes.
And that experience of playing with my prostate has coincided with these massive orgasms.
Yeah, an extended orgasm. The ejaculations too, like you'll have a forceful ejaculation, and then there'll be a moment, or and we're talking 5 seconds maybe, and then there's another huge forceful ejaculation again. It's not like you're just dry coming,
right?
And it's a surprise because I understand people can ejaculate, then have continual kind of mini ejaculation going on, and a little bit of spasmodic response from the orgasm. Right. But this is actually like a buildup of two.
Well, I was
components.
interested. We talked to Dex yesterday about sounding, and he made a really interesting point, which was that when women sound, it's the point of sounding is to enhance the vibrational stimulation of the woman's clitoris through the combination of sounding and vibrating.
Yes.
And when men sound, the intention there is to create a multi-orgasmic man through the combination of sounding plus electrical play and passing an electrical current between the bladder and the prostate.
Yes.
And so that's super interesting because what I've been experiencing is not a multi-orgasm. It's really more of just an ongoing orgasm.
Yes.
That's sort of been my inquiry.
Extended, yeah.
Yeah, but there's something about the prostate that is really an interesting sex organ.
It's fascinating.
That I think most men don't really pay much attention to.
Yeah, for me, it's just a smaller G-spot. Like when I feel my G-spot, this feels spongious and it's got some ridges in it.
Right.
If I go towards the top of it, right?
Right.
And that's where it's really super sensitive. And that's where if you can finger yourself from there and probably get yourself to squirt and different things like that, right?
Yeah.
And I've squirted a lot. Most of my experience from squirting has been from clitoral stimulation.
All right.
And so, and with toys, right? So now I squirt with you inside me and all the other things that you do. But that's why I squirt when you give me oral, too.
Right.
It's because there's clitoral stimulation. But what I was getting to is my experience of feeling my own G-spot.
Yeah.
And then feeling yours. Yours is much smaller. Prostate's
Sure.
a lot smaller. It's more like a walnut. It feels like the flesh of a walnut in the sense that it has ridges like that. It changes a little bit of shape from time to time.
Okay.
And it also dips forward or back. What I've been having fun with, because you're focused on your goal of extended or whatever you're doing with your being with your orgasm, not fighting and not trying to bear down.
Yeah.
I also am listening to you. It's why I love hearing you. It's because I can hear when you're getting closer and I can change what I'm touching or how I'm touching. There's the idea of just pressing on it, but you aren't, it's a small organ. You're not, you got to be gentle with it.
Right.
And that's why I think anal sex works, because you've got a penis, which isn't a finger. There's no bone in there. And so the idea, it's rubbing past that, and that's what's creating the friction, and it's feeling good. So with your fingers, they have bones. They can be a lot more pointed if you...
Pokey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what I do is I will massage it and come hither kind of things with my fingers. I'll also do a circle thing, and you go crazy with the circle. That's
I definitely go crazy.
The circle is like the craziness. And so it's interesting because it's always a little different, but learning your body, I think it's the most fascinating thing to learn my partner's body on how to please my partner. Right. I just think that's a huge turn on.
Well, you're a service slut.
But it's just a huge turn on.
And you get turned on by...
It makes me wet just thinking about
Yeah.
pleasing you in that way, because that's such a gift to be able to give to your partner, like pleasure.
It is a gift, and there's nothing that could be more intimate than having your partner suck your cock and finger your prostate. It's the most intimate expression.
It might come from my past, which is fine, because my past creates me too.
Yes.
And maybe I'm thankful for that, because I didn't have a generous partner before. Yeah. And so I'm giving what I'm wanting.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And you give that to me all the time. I want a generous partner.
Sure.
I want a partner that pays attention to what turns me on and gets me off. Right. And in turn, I want to do that too. But for 30 years, it was one-sided.
Sure.
And so I really appreciate you, is what I'm telling you. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. I do. Okay, so there's another aspect of anal sex that we haven't explored, but you have experience in, which is pegging.
Yes.
So let's talk about that.
So when we had the interview with Melancholy Ghost, and she was talking about different harnesses and dildos and things like that to play when you're pegging your partner.
Right.
I had a lot of questions because I was never part of the purchase of the harness, which seems crazy because I'm the one that's going to wear it. It just all of a sudden this harness showed up. It was initially O-ring type setup. So it had the post, put the post on and put the O-ring on to keep it on. And, I was told to make do with what it is. I was frustrated because pegging was, well, for me in my situation at that time, it was fun for me because I got to be in control, wear the pants and control, and I wasn't being fucked, and basically I didn't have to.
It was power.
It was power. And I noticed that I liked
the dildo or the harness set up where it could be on my clit more, so that as I'm, fucking somebody, I'm getting stimulation too. I mean, otherwise, if it's up at my belly, basically that's a lot of the harnesses do. They go right above your pubic bone. I guess it's power, yes, but part of it is the turn on. And
it seems illogical to me that you would place the base of the dildo above the pubic bone.
Well,
because if you thrust with your pelvis, you want the bone behind the thrust to push it.
Well, and I think again we talked about how, the distance between vagina and anus.
Yeah.
Well, the same thing, the distance between clit and vagina, and in relation to where they are, whether you have your genitalia pointing downward,
right,
or you have your genitalia pointing forward. Right. Mine is more downward.
Yeah.
Okay. So to get the dildo or harness set up there, that a lot of the harnesses don't fit that way.
Right.
That's why I had talked to Melancholy Ghost about the one that goes inside.
Oh, right.
And because then it was guaranteed to be touching me, but I could tilt it up and then still fuck above me, right? Right. But she said no, but she might be saying no because the way she's built, right? So anyway,
but that's about the harness. I'm interested in the anal sex aspect of pegging.
So for me, I don't have a cock, but when I wear a harness, I had to kind of figure things out, the amount of lube needed is way more than you think it is.
Right.
I mean, it's amazing how the ass can suck up lube.
Well, it makes no lube.
Well, I'm just saying that surface area is way greater. Like your vagina is making lubricant all the time.
Right.
And so you kind of get a bonus factor with lube, right?
Well, when I fuck your ass, I sometimes re-lube my cock 3 times.
No, I know you do.
Yeah.
It just sucks it up. And especially if you're cleaned out.
And you've already put lube in there.
A very little bit. I put it on my fingers and then work my fingers in to make sure. What I'm really concerned about is not the internal area.
Yeah.
It's more the sphincter.
Right.
That, you have to get the sphincter wants to bear down.
Well, the reason...
That's why you don't shit your pants while you're walking around, basically.
Exactly. The reason you want lube is because the walls of the rectum are very vascular, and you don't want to tear them because you don't want to have a bleed, and you don't want to get a hemorrhoid.
Well,
right?
I've been, because my partner was not considerate, I've been torn, and I've bled, after a session, because he got anxious. He never checked with me, and we didn't have a communicative relationship, and so he started he just took a toy. Well, there's a couple things. He just took a huge toy and just
fucked your ass.
Fucked my ass. And
yeah.
All I did was try to relax as best I could. That's what I did. And I did beg him for more lube because he wouldn't stop. And so So anyway, but the product, so we're used to having a natural penis in my ass, but you start putting toys in, you got to know the product that it's made out of, because not everybody can accept, and they don't always know this, the material that the toy is made out of.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So as a woman who's pegging, I may get what's called an ultrafeel cock, which I have one of those to play with just myself with a suction cup on the bottom, and that's a real skin type stuff. And you can use silicone on it, silicone lube, and water-based lube. Okay. But then there's other ones that are the cheaper dongs. You see the ones that are jellies and they're colored and things like that, and they are fun initially. However, I remember when I opened the package of this really two-headed dong. I had this two-headed one, and it smells that PVC smell, that gross smell. Okay, so they break down. So a lot of times people will clean them with toy cleaner, right? You got to be careful what you clean them with because those things are breaking down all the time.
Right.
And then you should dry them well. They have to be really dried. So dry them and then let them air dry on a white towel because they bleed color. Right. And then you're supposed to put them back in the packaging you got. Well, God knows no one keeps the packaging that they got with it.
It's a nightmare.
No. And the reason you do that is to protect it. Well, what happens? You put it in a drawer, or you put it in, it'll start picking up colors of anything it touches. So if it's a jelly, a clear jelly red dong, let's say, it'll start picking up the black dong that you stuck beside it. All of a sudden you have spots on it. The other thing, it'll start breaking down. Well, he started screwing me with something large that he hadn't used in a long time. We're talking long time, years. And it had been breaking down, and I got allergic reaction to the breakdown of the plastics.
Right.
I mean, I was burning. It was burning like I was on fire, and in tears. And he wasn't stop until he was done, and I burned for days after that. And so then I started just throwing those toys away. I said they're degrading. They're out of thing. So make sure you're using the right lube with the right dong.
And taking care of it.
And taking care of it. And, you know, you need to put more money into, if you're going to peg someone, you need to put more money into the product you're using.
Right.
You also, just like Melancholy Ghost is I mean, okay, here he fucks me with this huge thing. This big black dildo. I mean, huge. That's what he does with me first.
Right.
Like he said, it'll open your ass so you can accept me. Well, what a crock of shit. Okay. And then when he got me my harness, it was this little teeny thumb-sized cock.
Right.
And then, you know, it built up from there. It had 3 sizes. Right. And he was concerned that he couldn't handle it, you know. But for me, if you talk about only the power, it wasn't the right harness for me for actual orgasm.
Right.
I like the power of it. I liked, you know, I did use those lube shooters. That was very helpful to shove a lot of lube inside. Right. I think people that are less experienced at ass play, you can't take for granted. Your partner will tell you if they think they need more lube. If it's
there used to be a fellow on FetLife who called himself Ass Trainer, and he would have videos of him training girls to orgasm in their ass. And what he would do, he'd have a huge syringe, and he would inject 10 cc's of lube into the ass. Yeah. And then he would start playing with
because
her
they
ass.
can relax.
Yeah.
And if a woman's relaxed, let's just be honest, it doesn't matter if you're ass playing, if you're doing any kind of play.
Right.
If a woman's relaxed, she's going to be more prone to orgasm.
Yeah, and I think the same's true for men. If they're
uptight.
Yeah, if you're gonna fuck my ass, like this is the way I think about it. So my ass, like when you put your finger in my ass, it feels like there's not enough space even for your finger.
I know it does
because
it's anxious.
It's not just that it's anxious. It's that if you think about a woman's pelvis,
yes,
like the ischial bones are further apart.
Yes,
because you have a birth canal, and men don't. Men have a narrower pelvis, and so the bones go really much closer to the anus, and so when you fill it with volume, there's just nowhere for it to go. So it just feels more crowded in there. So I'm interested to see.
I mean, I'm interested in continuing to work that with you, and then because I have some really interesting glass stimulators that are bigger than my finger. Yeah. But I have to get you up to 2 or 3 fingers before I can play with that. Right. Because I think, because it has a bulb on the end, I think what's going to happen is the bulb goes in, the bulb's going to pull, as you go like this and you do a come hither with a device, you're going to get a huge orgasm just surely because of the pressure of that. Right. But for me, pegging, I'm into it, but I have to really get the right harness. That's what it's all about for me. Because, you know, even if I'm like cock surfing, if someone's laying down and I'm cock surfing on them, for me it's about them having a hard cock and me pressing it into their body and then riding the tip of their cock on my clitoris. Right. And I'll come like violently that way. And then I would be able to put the harness on and then go peg something or whatever.
Now it's possible, because the anus is a muscle, it'll stretch. It's possible to get the anus to stretch quite large.
Well, kind of like sounding. It's a little different, but kind of like sounding, where people, there's a UK website that has graduated dildos to build up, and people like to. There's a group of people out there I'm not judging. Group of people out there that actually go for size. They're all about the size whore. Let's just say size whores, whatever, and that could be men or women that are going for larger and larger cocks, bigger and longer, whatever. Right. And in the ass, you can go longer for sure because there's more room. In your vagina, there's only so many inches before the cervix is present. Right. And then the only place the cock can go is to push the cervix aside, because it's not going up into your uterus, it's going to the side, and push actually your pelvic floor around, like push your pelvic floor around. Right. I have been in that situation with toys being used on me that way, and to just be jackhammered that way is not at all, for me, at all enticing at any level. Because up there, way up high, there's nerves, tons of nerves, but there's no sexual-oriented nerves. The nerves are all closer to the openings.
And the rectum is larger, so you have more room.
The rectum's larger, you have the room. But for me, I like my sphincter where it's at.
Right.
I'm not interested in stretching it where I start to have accidents.
Right. Now, I've seen videos of women where they've literally been stretched 6 inches across.
I've seen that too. And the thing is when they're young, they might go, it's not a big deal. And there could be, and people might write me about this, people that are older doing this. But the reality is there's a point in our life when we get incontinence.
Yeah.
And when we get that possibly through our bowels or through our urinary tract.
Right.
You know, I want a certain type of life the rest of my life.
Sure.
And I prefer not to be in diapers. Right. No disrespect to anyone who wears diaper wears, but I prefer not to be as long as I can.
Got it.
And so I'm not, the girth isn't it. I mean, it's amazing. You fuck me and you're hitting my G-spot in my ass.
In an amazing way.
In an amazing way, and I'm euphoric on it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, don't fix what's not broken.
No, we don't need to go bigger. I can't get my cock any bigger.
Well, but I'm not saying to you, oh my God, it'd only be better if you were bigger or longer or whatever.
No.
The length of your cock, I don't feel in my ass. What I feel is that base point past the sphincter where you're pushing on my G-spot.
Yeah. No, it's perfect the way it is. I wouldn't change a thing. It's perfect.
It's also naughty. It feels naughty, and it's filthy
naughty.
And dirty, and that part of it is hot.
Yeah. Now, the shape of my cock and the shape of your ass work really well together.
Yes, they do.
And the shape of my cock and the shape of your pussy work really well together.
They really do.
You come whether I fuck you face up or face down.
I know.
You squirt often when I fuck you.
Yeah, like lately when you've been having me in the chair and you just kind of come on to me and just tuck me, and we're face to face because of the way your cock is curved up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right there on my G-spot the whole fucking time. I'm like, I'm going crazy.
Yeah.
Equally, when I turn the other way, the way it goes in and the way you swell, you're just pushing down on my G-spot.
No. We fit perfectly well
It's
together.
wonderful.
Like we say, we're constructed for each other.
I think we're made for each other. I do think that's true.
Okay, well, I love ass sex. I could talk about it all night.
Yes.
But we probably should stop there.
Okay, we'll stop now. That's it for today. If you're interested in kinky relationship coaching, online domination, or if you'd like to sponsor the pod to keep it going, please visit our Patreon website at Lady Petra Playground. You can reach me via email at ladypetraplayground@gmail.com. Our music is composed and performed by Roger Ferguson, who can be found at rogerfergusonmusic.com. Till next time, cheers!